All right, so I want to do this video, and basically, I want to talk about my experiences with ayahuasca. I want to do this video because mostly I see a lot of videos saying how, what a great experience ayahuasca was for them in healing them or whatever the case may be, but it's helped them make them a happier, better person. And I want to just share this to give you my experience. Now, my ayahuasca experience. Now I didn't go down to Peru or whatever the hell to take it. I basically took a combination of Syrian rue and Mimosa hostilis. Uh, Both were pretty pricey actually, but it gave me enough probably to do about 4 sessions. Now I did enough. I made a huge amount, basically split into two for the entire amount that I got, which I can't remember the total amount, but I basically did enough for 2 sessions. Now my first session with it, I took both these sessions by myself. I just say I know most people say you need to have a sitter or somebody that watch over you while you're doing it, but I didn't do either of those things. I did it by myself because I thought I was in control enough to be able to handle whatever it throws at me. Mm. So my first experience, well, my first day with it, I knew from day one that this wasn't going to be an enjoyable trip. Now, when you first take it, you're going to feel nauseous, and people that say they move around and stuff like that while they're doing it. I don't know how they're able to do it because the minute it hits you, probably about 30 to 40 minutes later, you feel nauseous and you just want to lay down. Not even if you're tired or something, but it brings about this tiredness over you. So you just want to lay down and sleep. And now it's almost like a dream thing where like you can't remember all of it, but you can know these bits and pieces. And for my first experience, the one piece that I remember is, so I was at this gate section. Now, to me, it was sort of like an outline. It was like white, and it was sort of like you ever see like those Minute Earth things, like those drawings. It was sort of like that. Everything had like this drawing outline in it. Like I couldn't really get all the way into the zone. Now, you have your whole, zooming in and out experience. You're gonna feel, you're not exactly in your body anymore, or that you're like in this reality anymore. So I was basically at this gate section, and what I recall from it was either a gate or like a castle type thing, but I just remember being above and like looking out of this window, but it was guarded, it was like this guardian figure there, and it had like an alligator head, and it was like fully like armored up, like it had like a whole knight outfit, and it had a spear in its hand, and I remember it just turning over at me, and just glanced at me. Not even like turn his head full, but sort of just spinning around, just making sure like one eye, get to look at me, and then just turn over its head and just sort of like snarl. Like it didn't give a fuck that I was actually there. Like it didn't care that I was there. It was just like whatever. Another one shows up, I guess. And at that point, I realized, well, this whatever world I'm in doesn't seem to give a fuck that I'm here. And at that point, I felt, sort of confused. I remember everyone telling you that every entity there is loving and wants to see you and everything like that, but I didn't get that vibe at all. Like I didn't even like I wasn't welcome there. Like I shouldn't have been there. And that's the one vivid thing I remember about that. And then I remember just falling and falling and falling for a really long time. And that's where sort of my first ayahuasca experience ends. And it wasn't a good one. And I felt like it wasn't all the way, like a true experience. So I doubled down on my second dose, basically just using what left that I had. Excuse me, just using whatever left I had. So I doubled down on that dose, and but this was a separate day. I didn't want to do all this in one day. So one day I took the first dose, and I remember, the Guardian. The second day I was like, all right, I'm gonna finish this up, and experience whatever this is gonna do. So I take it, and I go through the whole zooming in out phase. And it's one thing in particular about the ayahuasca experience is that it's going to start kicking in because it feels like your body is vibrating, like vibrating so fast that you're in a flash or something. Your body's just vibrating, and you're just sitting still, but it feels like you're vibrating, like you're just getting out. And that's one thing I know. It felt like it was amazing, and that just that feeling, you're just vibrating, and that was awesome. And this is where the experience goes into like hell. It was a fucking nightmare. There was nothing pleasant about this at all. It was a living nightmare. So there's one really vivid thing that I remember, and I was in this sort of this space vacuum type area, and there was this three-headed figure. It had three heads, but it didn't have any expressions. It was sort of like a totem pole, but not like there's one head on top of another. It's like on one side of the head there was another face, and on the other side it was a face, but it didn't show any expressions. And it's sort of like there was this thing next to it. It was almost like the dark rift of the Milky Way, but it was like a flowing river, and in this river it was like these entities were just flowing back and forth. Well, it was mostly just one way. There was a bunch of them just flowing in one way, and they were just incredibly sad and just full of despair and sorrow. And it hit me so hard that I wanted to leave that space, but that entity, it grabbed the rift and it squeezed on it, and it just started hurting, these entities inside even more, and just squeezing, but it didn't have any emotion, like it was trying to tell me, I don't know, but it hurt me and affected me in a way that I don't know, it was fucking bizarre, and it just kept doing that, and the pain that they were feeling were just getting more and more intense, and just started to hurt me. The more he squeezed, it was hurting me, as if I was a part of that river, that flowing river of like souls or something. And I was in pain with everybody else. And his thing was not showing an emotion, like it was his like job or duty. I don't know if he was like a guardian of this river or system. And that's the one thing I remember about the second part of my experience. And I felt just really sad and emotional, and I didn't want to take ayahuasca after that, but it's something about that experience which held on to me. Now, this isn't the worst part about it. What hit me the most was after that ayahuasca experience, and how my life, just everything was changing. My dreams, for one, were becoming so much more vivid and intense that it almost I became afraid to go to sleep, because the dreams and visions I was seeing was so disheartening and so emotionally destructive that I was afraid to go to sleep. And I remember on hours when it's time to go to sleep, I just did not want to go to sleep. I would go to work just tired because I was afraid to go to sleep. And there's a couple dreams that I know I had. This one dream, I was in a park, and it was like me being a kid form. I was a baby, and I was playing on this park bench, and there was this person just like filming, and it wasn't like I was, just on the sideline observing both these things, but it didn't seem like that they can notice me. Like I was sort of like, it was like a movie set, but not. It was like real life, but it was like me like observing a movie set operating, right? And this entity is like filming me being a kid, playing and being happy and everything like that. But it didn't. It felt disturbing. Like there wasn't something nice or happy about it. It was just absolutely disgusting. And I'm trying to look closer and closer, but the more I walk towards to try to assist little me, the farther it was like moving away from me. Like I couldn't understand what was happening. Then at one point, the cameraman puts down the camera to his side, and he looks over at me, and I noticed that it was me. It was me filming like a child like me while I'm watching, and it was just fucking horrifying. And once it noticed me, its facial expression like twisted, and it looked just angry and pissed, and all I wanted to do was hurt me. And it just started like a fast walk towards me. At that point, I woke up because I couldn't take the dream anymore. I thought maybe it wanted to kill me or something like that, and I just did not want to be in that dream anymore. And And to remind you that I'm 20 plus years old, I know scary dreams don't really scare me at this point. I've never really had a dream at this point where I was afraid to go to sleep, but that's how vivid and intense these dreams were, that it was affecting me, and I couldn't understand why. At that point, I knew I had to go to sleep. I had work in the morning. No matter what, I have to go to sleep. And I go back to sleep, and at this, the other dream comes into fruition, and I'm starting to, think it. And at this point, this section of it was like a different dream, but at this section, I was in my house, but I wasn't like a grown me. I was a kid me, and in my house we have a basement by my parents' room. So it's a basement and it goes down, and it's usually always dark. Basements go down. That's usually how it is. In this stream, the basement door was open, and it usually never is open. It's always closed because you don't want people accidentally falling down. But in this stream, it was open, and I remember just like slowly walking to the basement door and looking down, and just how dark and just scary, and a feeling of malice was coming from the basement. And I'm hearing a noise, steps walking up the basement stairs, click click, but it wasn't like shoes. It was all like high heels or like claws, hitting the stairs, and you're just feeling this malice growing intensely. And it was coming up the stairs, and it finally hit the top where I was, and I backed up because I was so afraid. And there was this dark entity. It was this hooded dark entity, and I know it was like a female because it was wearing like a dress. Had like a black hood, and it was wearing like a dress. I couldn't really see its feet because it was just like dark, and it didn't notice me. It just walked right past me as if I didn't, I wasn't even like I didn't exist. At this point, it was so horrifying. So I'm stammering back to try to get out of its way because I don't want nothing to do with it. And I can't escape because by my basement is like a kitchen, and I couldn't escape that kitchen. I was trying to like move away, but I couldn't move, as in like the kitchen kept expanding. Like whatever step I took away, the kitchen was growing bigger and bigger. And when I turned around, it was always close to me, and it was coming over by the counter, and it was just like hitting the counter, with his hands, sort of just doing that, just hitting his hands against the counter, but not really noticing me. And at this point, I turn over at this entity, and I try to walk by it, and at this point, the entity snaps his head back over to me, and it glares at me with just intense hatred and malice. I could just feel that all it wanted to do was hurt me. At this point, I wake up. I wanted out of the dream, and I woke up, and I'm sweating, and I'm terrified. And this is where it gets even more terrifying, is that I couldn't move my body. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. But I was able to move my eyeballs around. And, my wife is sleeping next to me in the bed, and I couldn't move my hands to try to tap her up. So I'm sitting in this, and at this point, it's not a dream. I'm wide awake from this dream, but I couldn't move my body. I thought I was dead, or at least dying. I couldn't I couldn't figure out what exactly was happening because this has never happened to me before in my goddamn life. I'm sitting in the bed, terrified that I'm dead or dying or I'm paralyzed or some sort. I couldn't move my feet, my hands. In the corner of my room, this thing was there watching me. It was fucking watching me. And the room was growing darker and darker and darker. And I'm thinking, is this what death is? Is this the Grim Reaper trying to take me away? And I'm just trying to scream as loud as I can, and nothing is coming out. It's just my eyeballs are moving, and I'm watching this thing, and I'm getting more and more afraid. More afraid than I've ever been in my life. I've been to war. I've been deployed. I've fought. This I should not be this afraid. I just couldn't understand. So I'm looking at this entity, and I can feel the hate and the malice that it has for me, and it's just walking towards me slowly. And I'm just at this point just trying to do anything in my power to move, because I'm thinking I'm still in a dream, but I know I'm not in a dream because am taking everything in. I'm observing everything. I'm in my room, staring at this thing moving towards me, and it comes, closer and closer to the point where it's just hovering over me. Excuse me. It's hovering over me, but I can't make eye contact with me. Like it's just looking at like my torso region, and it pushes over its hands, and it grabs my arm, but not like I can't really feel it grab my arm. That's why I'm just like more and more terrified. I'm trying to kick, I'm trying to push, I'm trying to scream because I don't want this thing, whatever it is, to take me or touch me or whatever. And the room is just so dark that I can like barely see anything but this entity, and it was the darkness was coming from the entity, like it was the epicenter of the darkness, you know, covering my room, and I just wanted to go. I wanted to disappear. I've never been more afraid than I am at this point right now. And then I don't know how, but miraculously I managed to get a kick off, and I kick my wife in her shin. She gets up, and this thing just it goes back into the corner of the room, almost like it was like super surreal, almost like it just reversed, like it just reversed, and it just went right back in the room, in the corner of the room, and all the darkness went with it. And I turn over to my wife's side of the bed so she could protect me from this thing. And I'm explaining to her what the fuck just happened. I had no idea. And this never happened to me until I taken the ayahuasca. And I don't know exactly what it is that triggered this, or why it was happening, or if others had this experience with it. And my days go on. I'm explaining this to people, but I noticed something about me has changed. Something about me that I couldn't have control over. But I've felt so suicidal. Like all I wanted to do was kill myself. That's all that was going through my head each and every day was, you need to die. You don't matter. You don't need to exist. Your purpose, you don't have a purpose. You should just disappear, because all there's going to be for you is suffering and sadness. And that's all that was going through my head, and I couldn't make sense of it. And I'm wondering if other people had this experience. And at this point, I'm so afraid, and my emotions are so out of whack. Everything that I would used to just drive, just blow off, was affecting me to the core of my being. If my wife was mad at me, I felt like crying because I know I hurt her so bad, or if my mother is sad, it hurt me so much. But this feeling of suicide was always just at the forefront of my mind. And at one point, I did, I went upstairs and I put a wire around my neck to try to get these thoughts out of my head. I put the wire over the door so it was nice and secure. And I thought, hey, I just go limp and I can disappear. And I guess I don't know why I didn't go through with it. I guess this feeling of, hey, doing this is going to be selfish. I overcame these thoughts, but this cynicalness and this negativity just didn't really go away. And those suicidal thoughts turned into like almost like philosophical babble, just like something was trying to explain to me that your purpose on this planet is to suffer and die, and it's better to end it quickly now than it is to continue with your life and go through with the pain. And it hit me almost like that, It's starting to make me think that maybe whatever this thing is, maybe there's a little bit of truth to whatever the fuck is going on with my mind, because I've always heard that, ayahuasca is trying to teach you something. It's telling you something, and I was thinking maybe the source of, I don't really know how to explain it, but it was making me feel that maybe, you know, happiness and love and all this crap is just a lie. It's just a big fucking fat lie. Maybe the the source of all the earth's suffering, and it's just happiness. Everyone wants to be happy, but no one realizes that that all that happiness comes at a cost of other people's suffering. Your existence causes suffering, whether it to be to other people or animals that fucking need to be grinded alive so you can get your hamburgers at McDonald's. The fucking the trees that are be cutting down. It just made me think about all these things that I never really thought about before, and it hit me so hard that maybe that's true. Maybe this world is just a little fucking personal purgatory for everybody, and we keep deluding ourselves. Maybe we take these plants to try to find happiness in ourselves, and well, how selfish is that? How fucking selfish is that? That you we take these plants and to try to heal our own suffering when maybe that's the point of this your existence right now. You're just trying to suffer. Maybe we're being punished for something we've done in another life. Maybe that entity was trying to take me away from the suffering I've done to others. Maybe that's the truth. Maybe that's the truth of the world. That this is just a big fucking personal hell for everyone. I mean, I started thinking about it like as objectively as it possibly can. You know, what if it is the case? What if that is actually the fucking case to our existence? We're just here to suffer and die, and the ones who chase the happiness or chase love or just is just deluding themselves. Just maybe this whole thing, maybe there is no purpose. Maybe us trying to find a purpose is just our own delusions, trying to make sense of this. I can't help but wonder if maybe whatever that thing was trying to teach me was objective reality. There is no purpose to anything. This you're here because you've done wrong and you're going to suffer for eternity for it. And if you think about it and you honestly sit down and think about it, your existence is going to be 99.9% suffering and misery. And maybe that 0.1% is going to be happiness and love. And even feels like the universe, even the little glimpses of happiness and love you experience, the universe tears that away with something stupid as fuck. You want to get that iPhone 5 because it makes you happy, but you don't think about the fucking Chinese child laborers that sit there and suffer trying to put that shit together. You go to McDonald's to get that burger or that 20-piece McNuggets, and you don't think about the chickens getting debeaked and thrown around, kicked around, getting their fucking heads chopped off just for your pleasure. Maybe that's the source of all the problems. Maybe our emotions and our I don't know. I mean, what's the point of having emotions at all? I mean, that's only holding us back. I don't know. Well, I just want to, put that out there. Let everyone know that my experience with ayahuasca was not a happy, pretty, enjoyable one, but it was full of just suffering and just misery that I mean, it's ingrained in me at this point. I can't help but be cynical about everything, and I didn't used to be this way. I can't really say that because maybe it's always been a part of me. Maybe it's always been there, and I never wanted it to let loose. But then why would it bring that to the forefront? I've always read or heard of ayahuasca. Mother ayahuasca just wants to make you happy and show you how to heal and everything like that. And then I have my experience, and it's nothing but misery and suffering and horror. I've never experienced such horror than fucking after I took ayahuasca. Those dreams, the visions I had, there was nothing pleasant about it. It was horror, pure fucking horror. But then it makes you wonder. Maybe that's this entire existence is nothing but horror and misery. As much as we like to delude ourselves with, "Hey, I'm happy passing my finals right now," or "I can't wait to start my career," but you don't think about the suffering that you are causing others just for being alive, you know? You don't think about those things at all. You know, I always see these videos of people being happy and merry afterwards, and but that's just selfish. It's absolutely selfish to think that you go down to Peru or whatever, and you pay these people to take your ayahuasca so you can be happy and merry, and then you go back home or whatever you do, and you continue doing the same shit. You don't have a difference of thought. You didn't take anything out of it. You just said, "Oh, it just wants me to be happy, so I'll just continue doing the same destructive bullshit that I do every single day." You know, people saying that it's taught them a better way of thinking or whatever. I've never heard anyone like express it like this, and this is what it showed me. This is what it made me endure. You know, maybe I'm looking at it the wrong way. I don't know. But if you really think about it objectively, you know, what it showed me and what I'm saying is reality. Everything you do will cause suffering from someone else. And maybe you can try to be happy or merry or whatever, but how far can you do that before someone comes along and fucks that up? It's just a matter of seconds, really. You can't be happy. This world doesn't allow you to be happy. And if you are able to be happy, it's mostly you or someone you love. But I don't know. It's made me think differently, you know. And I had this sense of I don't know, like an intuition now that I can feel whether someone's intentions are spiteful or truly good. You know, it is very little people that I encounter that I can trust. Very little, because everyone in this world is incredibly selfish, and all everyone cares about is themselves, to the point where you really can't trust others. You really can't, you know, put your faith in someone else, because we're just all so fucking selfish. I mean, just look at the world right now. There's nothing that says happiness or merriness or whatever. Even the Christmas season, you know, you're only happy because you're gonna get fucking gifts or whatever. Well, I don't know. Maybe this is just ramblings. I just wanted to put this video out and try to maybe if other people have had the same experience, they can let me know, because you know I read all these experience reports and all that stuff, and it's just been merry, happy blissfulness, and I'm over here. I had the experience. I had nothing but hell and horror. It was downright scarring. I mean, would I take it again? Probably. You know, I probably would, because after all that horror and all that suffering, I felt comfort. You know, I felt at the end of it, I felt comfort. Like I felt maybe this is reality. Maybe that's what you need to know. But all right, you guys, let me know what you guys think, and if you guys had try ayahuasca and had that experience, let me know what you guys went through. And sorry if this went too dark. It's just I just had to get it out there.